there, Squirrel Army. It's time to look at another of the Karloff Manor face commanders. This is the Blame Game Commander, Nelly, Borca, Impulsive, Accuser.
You can join the Squirrel Army by subscribing.
Alright, so 2 and Boros, so red and white, 2/4 with Vigilance. When it attacks, we can basically go to creature, give it menace, and it can't block this turn. Or it can't block, just in general, I guess. Okay, on a 2/4, that's probably not that amazing for the most part. Whenever one or more creatures and opponents control deal combat damage to one or more of your opponents, you and that controller each draw a card. So this could be like good in a deck that's already goading things, or a deck that's already doing stuff with like not forced combat but like incentivized combat style stuff, but also just, I guess, you know, like forced combat, which is also just goad as well, I guess. But like, again, like every one of these commanders, I don't know why they've done it, or what they've done to make these commanders just so piss poor, honestly. These commanders feel like they're commanders like from a couple of years ago. Like, realistically, they're weak as all anything. I don't know. They're weak as tea. You know, like, they're just not good. They just don't do enough, especially in today's landscape. Yeah, sure, you perhaps don't want to power creep anything more than what it is, certainly, but again, you want to be on the same-ish level as what the current level of decks are. You don't want to just be like, well, seems like a design from 2 or 3 years ago or something. It doesn't seem like it's on the same power level as a lot of the decks that are around today. Even some of the decks that I have that don't seem that powerful are actually pretty good, because they do something whenever you're doing something in the entire deck, rather than just this thing does a thing if you do a thing. Okay. And that's it. It does it once per turn or whatever, and that's it. So, like, I like the fact that this thing has at least more toughness than it has power. That is one good thing. And it does have Vigilance, so it can sit back to kind of block, I guess. I don't know. It really needs almost no power. Like, I don't care that this thing has any power, or, you know, whatever. It just needs toughness. Even if this thing, or just indestructible, or something like that, it needs to be protected, or it needs menace, or something. Anything. Like, just to make sure this thing doesn't die just as soon as I attack with it. Because just me being able to goad one thing and make it not block isn't that good. Like, and then give it menace. And then if it hits one of my other opponents, I and that player draw a card. This is terrible. Like, this does not belong in, like, any deck, anywhere, ever. It just, like, I don't know. Like, maybe it belongs in decks from, like, 5 or 6 years ago. Like, I don't know. Like, if you're in a go deck and you're already goading things, or, again, forced combat, that sort of style of stuff, like, when your opponents deal damage to your opponents, the trigger of you being able to draw cards isn't terrible. That part's pretty alright. But you can probably almost never attack with this thing unless somebody's only got one creature. Like, and 9 times out of 10, most people aren't just going to have one creature unless they've got, like, a mana dork or something else that they're just not going to probably block with. Because this thing will just die 9 times out of 10. So you don't ever want to get it into combat to begin with. So, unless, again, you're going to run a whole bunch of stuff to give it evasion, and then it's only this thing doing that, so you might as well just not run all of those things to give it evasion, and just run more things that goad more of your opponent's stuff, or give your opponent's stuff menace when they attack, your opponents, or, +2 attack, or whatever, anything other benefits that whenever your opponents attack your opponents, you get benefits. Plus, again, it's group hug-ish. And so, again, like, if you're doing that kind of thing, maybe that's okay, or maybe that's an alright trade-off in some regards. I don't know. I don't think it is, honestly, because, again, you don't want to give your opponents cards or anything, for the most part, as much as what you can. Like, so again, you've got to make sure that they can't use those cards or those resources or whatever else that you are giving them sometimes on you, or they're disincentivized to, again, give them, use them on you. So again, the first thing that, people do against these go decks or these forced combat decks or whatever else you want to call it, these incentivized against my opponent's style decks, is just kill all the cards that stop them from killing you. So they just be like, okay, well, I'm just going to punch you, and I don't care about the other effects, because I don't want to not be able to attack you or do anything against you, because otherwise then I just can't do anything against you and the game's pretty much over at a certain point. So, yeah, you can win the game by just other people killing each other effectively, like, in that regard, and then basically you just running basically a control deck and just sitting there and hoping and drawing cards and trying to protect your stuff as much as you can. Like, again, but still, like, not that there's no way to build it, but, like, there's so goddamn many hoops to do it, then it's just like, I don't know, dude, like, like, what's his name? I can't remember his name. And Raised by Giants, the guy who goads everything that's power is, like, less than his or whatever, it's just way better. Like, there's a bunch of cards that are kind of in these colors that kind of do stuff with this, and you could, like, play extra combats, or you could play something like Ishin and things like that, but on its own, as its own face commander, just no. I don't see it. Like, again, unless you're going to equip this thing up or find a lot of ways to give it those other forms of evasion or whatever, or, again, you're literally goading everything anyway. I mean, it is for the rest of the game, I guess, so they're suspects effectively for the rest of the game. So, when you attack again, you get to suspect something else. Those suspected creatures always have menace and can't block. So, like, eventually it sort of starts to snowball, and you do goad all suspected creatures. So there is that, I guess. So you're constantly goading a creature that you just goaded as well. So it can snowball, but, like, the problem, as I sort of said, that this suffers from is that it'll just die straight away. Like, it doesn't have an effect that means that you can safely do anything with this thing. You've just got to hope that the rest of your deck's kind of doing the job for you in goading your opponent's stuff anyway, and you've got enough other persistent effects to give them, reason enough to be getting in there, or, like, because, again, you can't rely on your opponents having anything that's, because you might just have to go to Manadork or whatever, like, or their commander or something else, and you don't know what their commander's going to be, like, or whatever, like, if their commander's a Manadork or whatever, especially, like, or taps for an ability of some sort. Well, I'm just going to tap my commander down and use it for its ability, or tap it for mana or whatever, and then I don't have to attack, So you've got to have it so that people have to attack or whatever. But even then, like, people can get around it by, again, if my commander has or the card that you goaded has an ability that I can tap it for or whatever. Well, now I don't have to attack with it because I just tapped it. So now it can't attack. So now what are you going to do? You got to sit there and go, oh, okay. So there's so much that has to go right for this to kind of work and to kind of do what you really want it to do. Actually, like, this is funny. I just realized this isn't any creature. So you could actually goad your own creatures, but then your own creatures can't block. So that's interesting. I didn't think about that until just here, but there is that you can do, but like giving up the power to block on some of your things just to give them menace doesn't seem all that good. Like, with some things it might be okay, like, or whatever. Like, if you're already attacking with this girl, like, you can suspect her and then give her menace, and she can't block, and since she's already attacking anyway, she's not going to block anyway, except for the fact that she has vigilance. So I guess that doesn't really work that well with her, because again, she wouldn't tap to attack, so she could block, but now she can't block. So you're not really wanting to do that to her, you're probably wanting it to do to, like, if you have this on some of your other creatures, you don't want to do it to anything that ever has vigilance, so you never want to play anything with vigilance, and vigilance is just really good, because, like, that means you can't, set your stuff back to block, So, I don't know, like, you're taking away something that's very inherent to the color, these colors being vigilance, because they want to have vigilance. So it's like, well, why are you taking that away from them and just saying, well, now they can't block? Well, you might as well have not played something with vigilance then, and with some of the better things that have like flying or whatever, you obviously don't want to do it with those if it's your own stuff, because it's already good evasion. But with things that have bad evasion, maybe, yeah, sure, okay. But obviously, like, it's better in a way to do it with your opponents, because again, like, if you're goading enough of your opponent's things, and actually it's for each opponent, I guess, as well. So if you attack Steve with something, then you attack Alan with it. Like, then it does work in that regard by saying, well, I also go, Alan's thing over there, not just your thing, it's everything that was a suspect, so it's not just that player. So, again, it could be, like, doing stuff, but I don't know. Like, it needs a lot of protection. It needs a lot of other stuff to be in there to be going right and whatnot for this to, like, feel like you're actually doing anything. And, like, I don't know. There's just, like, there's so many hoops. Like, I don't know, dude. But that's what I think. I mean, like, that's the problem with some of this, because, again, like, people expect a lot from Magic cards nowadays, that it's just like, is this going to make it? Probably not. And that's why, again, like I've been saying with all of these, like, I'm waiting to see the Sub-Commander and hope the Sub-Commander's better, because these just don't seem like they were printed this year or even 2 years ago or whatever. Maybe they feel like they're printed 2 or 3 years ago, dude. Like, these seem like commanders that were printed years ago or should have been printed years ago, because they're not on the power level of what's happening today. So, but anyway, as I say, you guys can let me know what your thoughts are. Am I so wrong on this? You can let me know down there in those comments below. Hope you've enjoyed one way or the other, and hope you'll join me again for another one.